What's up, everybody? It is Thursday. It is now, I don't have a watch on, 9 p.m. And we're getting ready to do some Halloween and some humaning. Tonight I'm going to hang out with my brother from another mother, John Winogrocki. He was also one of the groomsmen in my wedding. So he's very special to me. You may be familiar with some of his music because if you've caught any of the reels that I've done or the Instagram stories for the show, or if you caught the official podcast trailer, John Winogrocki dropped that dope jam. Oh, look at him. He's right on time. He's so punctual. Get him in here. What up, brother?
Look at this.
Look at us. We're on the internet.
Oh my gosh. It's I feel so. Yeah. That's my first dad joke of this podcast.
Oh, I like it. I didn't even think about that. I should have put that into the description. I just said we were going to talk about farts. I was like, what's stuff that John and I will always talk about? Definitely sometimes flatulence.
Yeah, that's
dad
important.
Jokes. Yeah, dad jokes. We're so good at those.
I mean, that's what we do. I'm adjusting. So there was no way to preview for this camera angle beforehand. So I tried to get it as close as I could.
It's pretty good.
Now my OCD is like, I need to be over here.
Around.
Okay, whatever. All right. That's crazy. So this is wild because I've watched your show.
Yeah.
By the way, love it. And then now I'm watching it with me at the bottom of the screen, and that's just surreal. It's crazy.
Is it how do you feel about it?
I mean, it's cool.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy. So here's like what it is. It's like we're in a Zoom meeting right now that like has a bunch of people watching that aren't really participating. They're just commenting. They all have their cameras off. Right. It's just me and you stealing the show.
Exactly. You know, one of the things that got me thinking about this was I was having a FaceTime call with my friend Colleen a while back.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out why the audio wasn't working. I could not hear her. I was doing it on my computer. And so she kept telling me that she could hear me, but I couldn't hear anything that she was saying. And I was like, oh, it's the Sarah show. And she was like, oh my God, I would totally watch the Sarah show. And I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and here we are. You are on the you have the Sarah show.
I have the Sarah show.
I am human, and and I'm part of that, which is really cool.
You have literally been a part of it since the word go. I remember. I've told this story so many times recently because I'm so hyped about your new record, and I know that I text you probably a little excessively about it, but I really like it, and I listen to it so freaking much. And I still remember when you sent me the first two tracks, and I went over to trap beat number 2, which now is on the record as Lean and Smooth, and I was just the right amount of high when that started going through my headphones, and I was just like, oh my God, John, this is so good.
It was such a fun song to make. Yeah, it was so cool.
Oh my God, Colleen just joined. Coco, I was just talking about the Sarah show. But so John, thanks for jumping on for episode 6 of Hello, I Am Human. Thank you for being a part of it. Thank you for providing the theme music. I really, really enjoy it. And do you wanna wait a minute. I'm remembering what I'm supposed to do right now.
What was that?
Because I know what I'm supposed to do. We're supposed to talk about how we met. So
let's go.
John and I met when we were both working at the Guitar Center here in Chicago, Illinois. John was the ops manager. That was its own adventure. And we became friends. We used to have what John and I called safe talks.
Safe talks, yes. The safe was next to Sarah. It was next to you when we would sit there and talk in the office.
Yeah.
So it was a safe talk.
Yeah. So, and these are all those little nuggets that come together to form the rest of life, because now we have safe talks here
Yeah.
on camera that
What's
people can
cool,
watch.
what's cool about this safe talk is we won't really be interrupted by people coming in to drop a deal,
Right, right. They're
which
not going to be rolling any money into the safe while we're
no,
in here.
GC employees will know what that means. Uh, they might, somebody might even chime in the feed and say, "Do you have any deal slips? Um, hey, your stapler's out of staples. Um, hey, I can't find this in inventory. The serial number is wrong. Um, hey, this item wasn't on the receipt. Um, you know, things like that. I obviously still have a little PTSD about the job, but whatever, it's all
Oh
good.
my God. I don't think anybody who's ever worked there and left doesn't have PTSD about it. I remember when they were put out the news release this past summer or fall
Hmm.
talking about how Guitar Center was going bankrupt, and it was like, no, 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 no. Do
No,
not try to blame that on COVID, because y'all were going bankrupt in 2014 when I was leaving. Like, and that's just the opportunistic media crap that happens. It's like, oh, we can say it now and we can get support and people will feel bad for us because of COVID. It's like, no, you just made a bunch of bad business deals. And like, I don't have any
well,
sympathy. Like, I'm grateful for the opportunity that I had. I have gotten microphones there in the past when that was my first opportunity, but it's like, business model kind of didn't work in a lot of ways. So you're going to have to restructure. Not saying that I want people losing their jobs, of course, but I don't cry over capitalism.
no. And here's what there's a difference between Chapter 11 and Chapter 12 bankruptcy. So Guitar Center could still very well be viable. They just got to make some big drastic changes. More so than they already did. There's a lot of people that depend on working there. So hopefully they're able to have jobs in the future and still make a living and still, contribute to doing what they love. Because let's face it, everybody who gets a job at Guitar Center, one of the main reasons is to get a discount on equipment.
Oh yeah,
You
100%.
know, so
That's
so
because they love
hopefully,
music.
yeah, yeah, and they help people make it.
Yeah, and I mean that really is the joy of the job, and still have a lot of friends that still work there, and I mean that's really what you hope to have it be. And that was one of the things that was so dope about when you were dropping this record, because in the 10 years that I've known you, I knew you played bass, but I never heard anything that you did. And when you dropped that tune on me, I wasn't ready for it. Because you never know what your friend's music is going to sound like if you've not heard it. There's so many stories. I remember Tanya saying that the first time she went and saw my band when we started dating, she was like, "Oh my God, I hope they like don't suck, because then I gotta pretend that I like them. That's
uh,
gonna be so hard for her, because as you know, she's a very forthcoming and honest person." I don't know why my
she
screen keeps
speaks her
giving.
mind.
Yes, she does, and I like that about her.
Hmm.
But like, dude, when you dropped that first song in my lap, I was so pumped. I was like, "Oh my God, how can we collaborate on this? What are we doing?" So where did that like, cuz I've always known you as a DJ. Like I've been to your like that the one battle that you did that you got in the finals of. That was so sick, and I really enjoyed that. I've been to like bars when you've DJ'd. So what was that transition? Have you always been making these jams, or is this newer?
And no, this is something that's really only came into fruition the last few years. Like I've always wanted to make music, but I never really knew how. It
Right.
was like, I don't know how to do this. I just never had like, the training. I'm not, me and scales and all that stuff. Like, we know each other, but we're distant relatives. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So like, and like when I was a kid, I knew I wanted to do something music wise, but again, I was never like, thrown into band class, or I was never, so it was just kind of always became just whatever. And then when I got to broadcasting school, I got hooked up with this guy who basically was like, "You want a DJ?" And I was like, "Okay." And so then I started doing mobile DJ events. It was mostly weddings, but that's kind of how I got my feet on the ground, and it was like one step closer to kind of making my own music, my own sound. And I really got it into DJing because the way I looked at it, and we were doing CDs at the time.
Right.
It was like before computers,
I
and
remember.
the way I looked at it was I had a mixer and CD players and stuff, and my fingers were doing like stuff on the equipment, and I was using that to control the dance floor. So I created an
Got it.
energy I created a feeling, I created a flow. And then so just over the years of doing that, it just kind of gave me this idea in my head of how like something I would make would eventually sound one day.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of been like me searching for the right um, liaison to make that happen.
Got it.
And so, yeah, so I've gone through like several different DAWs. I've tried a bunch of different things, and then I finally just came out. And then this song, Lean and Smooth, was actually the second, technically the third song in this record that I had put together, at least started. I started a different song, which is later on the album. And then when I did Lean and Smooth, I liked it so much. I was like, ooh. And then it just like 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 a light bulb went off, and then I went back to that first song, and then it was just like the rest of the record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the other one that like I just remembered you dropping because it was a little later in I feel like in the ones that you gave me, but there's one track 4. I think it's technically track 5 with the intro, but Tubular Atoms, like
Oh my God, yeah.
I just can't with that song, dude. Like, and
Yeah.
that's exactly what it is. It's such vibe music, and the way you like controlling the mood and the crowd with DJing, that's something that I've always loved about drumming and about playing live is just getting people emoting. And I have DJ'd a few times at the bar that I used to run back in
Yeah, I
North
remember you telling
Carolina.
me that, yeah.
Yeah, DJ Shorty B.
Shorty
And,
B.
and
Shorty B.
oh my gosh. But like, it's so fun. It's so fun to get people to dance, like, and just let loose. Or if I'm playing heavier music, get people to just to emote. I
Yeah.
love that. It's just so powerful. And that's the thing that music does that nothing else does. As much as I love movies and visual art and things like that, there's something about music
Yeah.
that's just magical.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's like for me, it's almost like my life needs a soundtrack for every moment. Like I need to have music in the background, and if I'm not listening to music, I somehow hear it in my head. I don't know if that makes sense, but to me it
Oh,
really does.
it does to me. I mean, I'm always playing a beat or like, okay, so one of the other things that we're going to talk about is parenting because one of the things that is in your future is getting kids songs stuck in your head. So the cartoons that my boys are into right now is they're into Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, which I love,
Okay.
which every episode is like a lesson with like a little song
I'm
and
gonna
I
write this
can't
down.
even
Daniel's
Daniel Tiger's
Tiger.
Neighborhood.
Is it Tigers or Tiger?
Tigers with an apostrophe.
Okay. Neighborhood.
Neighborhood.
Is
If you just
that
type,
is that across town from Mr. Rogers?
it's all based on Mr.
Is
Rogers
it the
stuff.
same or is
Yeah,
it okay?
yeah. So you know that Daniel the Tiger from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, he's Daniel Tiger's dad in the show, and so all the parents are like the Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood
Okay.
parents, like the characters, not
Okay.
creatures. I guess some of them are
Creatures?
creatures.
I mean, yeah.
Animals, the king, like King Friday's in there and stuff like that. But
Cool.
like I just walk around singing these songs in my head all the time. And like one of the new jams that we've got is there's a one called Dinosaur Train. And they have this like ridiculously catchy song called Dinosaurs A to Z.
Okay.
I'm gonna share it after this episode. I'll totally
Okay.
share it. It is so genius. I didn't know there was a dinosaur with every letter of the alphabet, and it is just the dopest little jam. And it's just like, A, Apatosaurus, B, Brachiosaurus. It's so good. I'll stop there. I won't
No,
make
that's
anyone
fine.
else listen
You
to
know, you
this.
know what? You know what's like I'm constantly thinking about things that I want to sample
Hmm.
and turn them into songs or things, and even if it's just for my own fun, whether I release it or not. So I'll look forward to flipping those kids songs into something crazy. So when the
Oh
little
my
one,
God.
we call the little one Sweet Pea right now. So when
Yeah.
Sweet Pea comes out to meet us, I'm sure I'll have songs like that stuck in my head. And I think that you just inspired me to flip some of those and sample them and have fun with it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Ever since you started working on this record and like we've been talking about this stuff more, I've started like just recording little samples of stuff even with Tristan, I was like, hey, Tristan, let's chuck this ice on the ground. Mommy's going to record it and see if it sounds
Uh-huh.
good. But
Yeah.
so speaking of Sweet Pea,
Yeah.
the most exciting Christmas card that I got this year was you and your wife Lynn announcing
Uh,
that you're having a
that's right. Yeah, we
baby.
did send that out. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did all.
Congratulations
Thank you.
publicly.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we're excited.
Yeah.
Scared, but excited.
That's
Um,
exactly how I think most all parents feel.
I feel
Because
like if you're
it's
not a little
terrifying.
scared, then something's kind of wrong.
Oh yeah, then you don't understand what you're getting into. It's it's like some people say it's the best worst thing. Like, and I don't know. The worst moments are brief, thankfully, thus far. I mean, who knows? But they're not teenagers yet.
Sure. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
like,
I
yeah,
get to you get to look ahead for me, or in the few years that you have an experience. So I'll be able to refer to you. So thank you.
I've always tried to like think of stuff to tell you, and then we were on the phone the one time, and I was like, "Am I like just scaring John right now?" Like, but I
Yes.
feel like I wish some, but I really wish somebody had told me this. I was talking about that with Javier Synovus last week about like a million mom groups. There's like a mom group for everything to like talk about it because that's the stuff that women talk about. But like when I was like feeling so lost as like a new, not a dad and not a mom like that, like I
Mm,
wasn't talking about breastfeeding, but like I just needed someone to talk to. And like all of my friends were like a little further ahead. And I had like one buddy at work who had kids that were like about my age. And he was my only saving grace. Thank you, Mark.
yeah.
And like, yeah, that's just such a tough thing. And I think that something that was so transformational for me was that same friend that I was talking about the Sarah show with, Colleen, had shared Brandy Carlisle's song "The Mother" with me, and I remember just like crying like a baby when I listened to it because it's about her experience as a mother. But the first time I listened to her talk about it live on Austin City Limits, and she really told the story about like how her and her wife, when her wife was pregnant, like they would go and visit their couple friends, and they'd be like, okay, her wife would go off with the wife, she would go off with the dad, and he would like tell her all the dad stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
because that's the closest approximation you can get. So like, I know your every parent's experience is different, but like, I feel like the least I can do is talk to you about what my experience was to kind of give you a little bit of a heads up.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Any advice, I'll take it, whether it's good or bad, because then I get to filter and decide what I want to do with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like anything in life.
Oh, totally. And Sweet Pea was a long time coming. I mean, I remember that was one of the things that we all talked about as friends because our wives are also friends. Lynn was one
Hmm.
of our bridesmaids.
Yeah.
So the Winogrockies and the Natchweeds are really tight. But yeah, that was wild because you guys had all of these things going on with your house and all that crazy stuff with the condo. And it was like finally after the condo sold, it finally just happened.
Yeah. Yeah, it was almost like, in a weird way, Lynn and I talked about this, that getting out of that place was like kind of relieving us from some sort of bad energy or negative energy that was there. And then when we moved on, it just kind of, our lives instantly got better, you know, and, we were able to put this together and do this. And now we have we're going to expand our family, as you could say, you know? Yeah,
Yay! How are
that's
you feeling
wild.
about it?
I mean, I'm excited, still scared, right? I
Right.
think that, like I said, that's natural. And yeah, I mean, it's cool. Like, and you know what? I should preface it by saying, like, there's a whole lot of factors going on right now, right? When we
Right.
moved out of that condo, it was in the middle of COVID, when it
Hmm.
first started. So it was about like this time of year last year when we were trying to find a new place to live, and nobody would really show you anything.
Right.
And so we just kind of settled on a small but one bedroom, in the area, and so we knew this was very temporary. But now here we are, like trying to find our next place to live, and trying to find one that meets the needs of this little person we have yet to meet.
Right.
And so I don't know what he or she likes or what they want, and I don't think they do either. So, but
Right.
there's this stress of making these decisions like, okay, this is going to be good or this one won't be. This is a good area. This is going to be great for these amenities. Oh, there's a park nearby, stuff like that. So, I kind of feel like at least once we get to the next step of finding this place and scratching our name on a lease or a mortgage or whatever it is, we'll be able to take a deep breath and focus a little bit more on some of those other things too. You know what I mean?
Oh
There's
yeah.
just a lot we're juggling right now,
Yeah,
between
dude.
that and work and, all that stuff. You know what I mean?
It reframes your whole thinking on like looking at a place. Tanya and I had looked at condos in the city when she was still pregnant before Tristan was born. And I mean, it wouldn't have worked the way that our house does now, you know? I mean, just stuff like wanting a park nearby. You're totally going to want to be by a park because there's
Right.
going to be times where you're just pushing the stroller or you need to just get them outside. Like, I'm
Hmm.
so thankful we've got like the one cool little playground by us, but then there's like this other like random little park that's like in the cut on an alley over here that's like
Hmm.
just swing sets and a basketball goal and green grass. And I love it because nobody goes there. So
That's all you
it
need.
was, oh dude, it was perfect during COVID because no one goes.
Yeah.
And yeah, all that kind of stuff, having a street that you can walk up and down. Like when Tristan was a baby before we moved here, he had like the hardest time sleeping. So Tanya would just like put him in like the baby carrier and just like walk the block over and
Uh-huh.
over and over again trying
Yeah.
to get this kid to sleep. It was crazy. So yeah, it totally changes like your whole thinking. So
And she
it
totally got her steps in too.
oh my god, you don't even know, dude. Like he about walked her to death, man. Like it was crazy. It was crazy. The homeboy would not sleep, and and that's fine now because he is such a championship sleeper at this point. Like we've been so fortunate with that stuff. But I mean, that's just the whole rearranging your housing and rearranging life around your kids.
Hmm.
It's you cannot do it, and lots of people just say, no, I'm gonna stick to my thing and do my thing, and you're just gonna work it in, and Godspeed and God love them. And that's everybody's got their own choices. But like, I definitely tried to conform as much as I could around them because it made my life easier.
Yeah.
So, parenting advice, conform to the babies a little bit. You're still who you are. It's cool. You can
Yeah.
alter yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
got to sleep
Got a
train.
sleep train. Yeah, I see that on the comments. Thanks. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure, for
Oh,
sure.
for sure. For
So
sure.
what's that like feel like having like going through like appointments and stuff during quarantine? Because I mean, quarantine changed everything for so much.
Oh, you mean like for seeing like the doctors and stuff for this?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
like
it's interesting.
are
Like
they doing like telehealth stuff with Lynn or what are they doing?
no, like Lynn goes in to the doctors and
Mm-hmm.
sees them, and I've been in for select appointments, but because of like the size of the room and other things like any ultrasound, I am in the other room on a FaceTime call, to see
Yeah,
and stuff like that. So,
yeah,
but I've been to other appointments, and
good.
I met the OB, and I met some of the other people at the doctor's office there, and so it's yeah. So I don't know. I don't have a whole lot to gauge it off of other than what other people have told me about.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's totally excuse me, it's totally different.
yeah.
Yeah.
Man, like I think that that's just such a journey that everybody goes through. And like, how have you been handling quarantine? Like, obviously, you've been super busy as of late, but like, kind of how has
Hmm.
that been shaken out for you, quarantine wise? Because as someone, you're a trainer
Hmm.
by
Personal trainer.
trade,
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
personal
Yeah.
trainer. So, how has that been with you for quarantine? How are you holding up mentally? Do you feel?
Well, okay, so let's rewind just a little bit. I and maybe I'll start another topic too, but I started like trying to improve my mental health well beyond.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that I did because they then didn't have to worry about trying to find somebody to talk to um, during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in some ways, I feel like my quarantine had started maybe 8 months before everybody else's,
Mm.
when we had to kind of do all that work on the condo, because of some unfortunate circumstances. I all I did was we had to move out because we couldn't live there while we were fixing it.
Right.
So we moved in with a friend, stayed there. Thank you. Very, very much appreciated, Jim. I appreciate that. Biked across town every morning, went to work. I would work probably anywhere from 8 to 12 hours, go stop at the condo, put another 3 to 5 hours of work in, go back to Lincoln Park across town, sleep, do it again. And on the weekends, I was there even longer. So I didn't have any social interaction because any free time I had was very limited. So I wasn't going out and seeing people. We didn't go home for the holidays that year. Like, there were so many things. So like, and then like, we finally got out of that mess and we moved on, which is great. But when the quarantine happened, I'm starting to hear all these people complain about things that were relevant to me before. Before this actual pandemic started. I can't see my friends. All I do is just sit at home. I was sitting in my house working on it, but none that I couldn't live in. But but yeah, so I didn't see family for the holidays. Like, I wasn't doing anything other than working and commuting.
Right.
And that was really interesting. So that it was about that time, in the middle of all that, that I actually was told clinically that I was depressed.
Oh, wow.
And that broke me, because when you know something's not right, and but you don't know what it is, and then all of a sudden you have a professional just kind of say, yeah, you have depression. Some people can take that and understand it. Some people have to process it, and I was just like hit really hard, and then it made it even worse. Like, oh my God, like my life is over.
Right.
And deep down inside, I knew it wasn't, but it was really a big challenge to kind of overcome that. So I'm really thankful that I kind of laid down some groundwork in my mental health beforehand, which had given me the tools to deal with the process of my quarantine before everybody else started theirs, and then into the real quarantine that we all are sharing. So I hope that makes sense.
It totally makes sense. That was one of the things that I really experienced in a different way, but it kind of having a pre-quarantine was when I left my job. All of a sudden, I was just stuck in the house all the time, and not because of external circumstances, but kind of literally internal, because I was with kids all the time. And so I always say, like, as quarantine started happening, it's like I had a year of practice with this. So as my friends and people I know started going through that depression of, oh my God, I'm not seeing anybody, just that the depression that isolation brings you, because humans are social creatures. We want to interact. And when you physically can't do that, and it made me mentally not able to do it too. And yeah, like, I'm so glad that I was able to go through all of those waves of darkness. And we talked about like how dark those waters got for me. And I mean, it was bad. And the thing that's so hard is when you're in that state, it's hard to want to talk to anybody about it, because whether it's you don't want to be a burden, which, FYI, friends, if you're feeling depressed and shitty, you will not burden any of us by telling us that. If, like,
absolutely,
think of any time one of your friends has come to you, like, talk to me, we'll talk through it. So I think that that's the biggest thing that has been beneficial, is that as we're all experiencing this isolation and trauma together, it is opening up the conversations a lot more. And I think everybody's a little bit more empathetic towards it. So I'm glad you also had some practice and professional help. Like, screw the stigma with that kind of stuff. That's something that's slowly beginning to lift.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, it's and then it's kind of interesting, because it's like, it's in some ways, talking to a mental health professional is like buying a car. And the reason why I say that is, once you buy a car, you start to notice that particular car all over on the road, where before you never saw that. And then so now, because it's something that is on my radar, I'm starting to notice other people, whether they come out and say, I talked to a therapist or whatever, you're starting to see, or at least I start to see how many other people are doing the same thing, and it's not so
Yeah.
weird to me anymore. So yeah, you're absolutely right. If people are open about it and not attached to the stigma, it's so much better. Don't be worried about what are people going to think. That's not. No, it's about your mental health. It's just
Yeah.
like somebody going to a personal trainer because they need help with exercise. It's like somebody
Hmm.
going to a tutor who needs help with math.
Yeah.
You come to the conclusion that you need some help outside of what you can do yourself, and then you just recruit it. It's the same thing. It's just about, the mind and even spiritual as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that if we're not talking about things, we can't ever change them. And that's something that I has been so big for me. And I think that it's just as the social consciousness of people, of humanity, is starting to raise little by little, you're starting to see that. And everything is built around language, right? So whether it's a little kid that all they can say is like, it's spicy, and it's like, no, that is peppery. You have to have the language. And I think that whether that's language around social issues or mental health issues, that's why it's so important to me and to all of us that we talk about these things, because that's what we need to be normalizing. We need to be normalizing having these conversations about our human experience, about our human feelings, so everybody won't feel as alone. Because, like, so death, right? We have both, like, you've lost your dad, I've lost both of my parents. I know lots of friends who have lost parents recently or in the past, but when it happened to me at first, people weren't talking about it.
Yeah,
So I didn't know that a friend of mine had lost their parents. So it just became something, because it was happening to me. I just talked about it because that's just how I function. And I remember that that was something you and I bonded over. And you were able to be there for me when my mom died,
yeah,
because we talked about it, because you were able to normalize it and have language about it. So honestly, thank you for talking about it with me all those years ago.
yeah.
And because it's hard, man. It's hard losing your folks, no matter what your relationship is with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And anybody else for that matter, but yeah, especially
Yeah,
parents,
yeah,
because they are generally responsible for molding you at least somewhat into the person you are now. So
yeah, better or worse.
yeah, really.
And like, and you've definitely had some struggles with your family, and I think that that's one of the things. Like, one of the things that we've talked about is where you can have people in your family that don't necessarily align with who you feel yourself to be. I like, towards the end of my dad's life, especially, it's something I've talked about a little, but he was really hanging out with what I considered to be a pretty fucking racist crowd of people. He had gotten into Civil War reenacting, which on the surface seemed like it's fun. It's a group of people, he can go do something, and they had a fucking cannon to shoot, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
But as I kind of saw the ideology that they all talked about, it was just gross. And I remember being, the last time I was visiting him, I was just trying to get some time with the guy. It's my dad. He's fucking dying. And he was really kind of starting to be a little bit out of it, and from the
Mm-hmm.
medication and stuff that he was on. And his wife was like always around. And I just wanted some time by myself with my dude.
Yeah.
And I remember two of his buddies came over. One was a Civil War reenactor guy. One was this dude that he was friends with from New York. And they just started talking about stuff. And the conversation just started going in a bad area. And they started using some racial slurs and things that made me very uncomfortable. And I just remembered very loudly just going, well, I'm not going to listen to this fucking bullshit, and walking out,
Yeah.
because what was I going to do in that moment? I'm not going to argue with my dad and try and change his mind. Like, he literally died 3 months later.
Yeah.
That's not going to,
That's
kind
so
of no
tough.
point,
Yeah.
as the guy's kind of like losing it. But I made a point to like say that to his friends, and it's just so uncomfortable to deal with that kind of stuff. And I know that I'm not alone in that. I'm not alone in having members of the family that you don't see eye to eye with. And
Yeah.
how's that something that you've kind of wrestled with in your life?
Well, it's tough, right? Because we're all our own people. Whether I mean, you could be like, for instance, like you could be raised in a family that has a certain belief system or whatnot, and maybe you don't 100% agree with that. Maybe that you think that you need to figure things out for yourself and stuff like that. So my journey actually started a long time ago when I was in college. And I would never forget, I was in philosophy class, which I just took just to take because I needed a credit. And I ended up becoming really fascinated with it. And we were reading Descartes. And the dude just like locked himself in a little cabin or something like in the middle of the woods, and then just like took every bit of reality that he understood and questioned everything. It could
Mm,
be something as simple as, is this pen real? Am I real? All that stuff. And
mm,
it was really fascinating. And I thought that was really cool. So it kind of inspired me at that point in my life, in my 20s, to reevaluate what I believe, who I am, and all that stuff. And I really believe my journey started there,
mm,
into finding out who I am. And then it just continued to go along. And the longer I went about it, the more I realized there were close people in my life, particularly my family, that I didn't see eye to eye on issues. But
mm,
because you feel pressure to feel the way your family does, even though you may not agree, or even your friends,
mm-hmm.
it's an awkward scenario. And then so you just kind of have to get to the point where, we just talked about, where you don't really care about what people think, essentially, is kind of what we were saying, and
Right,
you just do you.
right,
And
right.
and that's kind of where that is, and that's kind of where I'm at. So so there are people in my life that I love dearly that I've just had to say, you feel a certain way. I respect that. I'm not going to tell you to feel otherwise, and I'll feel the way I feel. And as long as we agree to disagree, great. I'm not going to try to change your mind and stuff. So it's a big challenge, to put my foot down and just say, this is who I am, and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, I wrote a really long letter explaining how I felt, to somebody who I love and I care about and stuff, and I put it out there. And I hope that one day that we'll be able to have an adult conversation about it. You know.
That's incredible, man. I think that so often, especially white families, are so used to just hiding it and burying it and just saying, well, I'm just gonna go along to get along, or vice versa. Because
Hmm.
it get along to go along to get along.
Yeah, I
I
don't
never use
know.
that damn expression.
Yeah, I don't
But
either.
but it's because that's not how we roll.
No, that's not how I do.
No, we have, but there's a lot of people that do. And man, there's a certain extent that you have to do that. And I was just having a conversation with someone about that this weekend, where they're kind of trying to figure out, like, how do you deal with people like that in your lives? And one of the things that I had told her was kind of, you have to decide, like, we can never make somebody change their mind. People will only ever change when they are ready,
Hmm.
no matter what that change is in life. And so you can't force someone to see it your way. Screaming at them more than likely won't work. And
Definite turnoff.
yeah, because how receptive are you to someone else's ideas when they're screaming at you? And like, but that's the tough thing, because we kind of do need to scream a lot of this stuff, and just, it has to be said. We have to talk about it. The day that this is being filmed, it's what, the 18th of March.
Hmm.
So they just had 8 Asian women murdered
Right.
by during a hate crime.
Hmm.
Uh, and I mean, domestic terrorism is real. And if we're not talking about it, if we're not naming things, if we're not having the conversations, no matter how small or large, then change isn't going to happen, right? And
Absolutely.
so I think that I love your approach that you wrote the letter, because when you have someone that's just so stubborn minded, that they're not willing to converse about it. I think that that was such a healthy way for you to do that and say, I love you. These are all of my feelings here. Choose to listen to them, throw it away. But the whole point is that it's for you, really, in that moment. It's giving you the permission to get all of those feelings out. And I think that that's really courageous. And I'm glad that you did that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I am too. It's actually helped me a lot move on because,
Right.
knowing that there are some things out there that still need to be dealt with, especially with my kind of personality, where if I see something out of place, I want to put it away and all that stuff. Like that's like the OCD that I have. I want to fix that, and the stress of knowing that that was not there, or I wasn't dealing with that. Probably because I was just trying to find the right frame of mind to approach it.
Right.
But I just, I said, at this point, I've done everything that I can do. And I should even point out that I even owned it. And I said, hey, these are things that, I've been hurt about, but I understand that there are things that I may have hurt you with. And I believe these are them, and I'm sorry.
Right.
And so, we'll see what happens.
That's big, dude. That's really fucking big of you, man. And like, that's one of the big things that I think that as we all are trying to unlearn all of this junk that we've all been programmed with, and all of this stuff that we do need to change, we have to also own where we've messed up. All of the places that we got it wrong, because as we're trying to get people to lean in with us into these changes and lean into what I truly believe to be right-mindedness. And what I mean by right-mindedness is love or fear. Right-mindedness, love. Wrong-mindedness, fear. Every emotion stems from one of the two, right? So when we're trying to get people to lean into right-mindedness with us, it can be scary because they feel like we're saying that they're wrong. And really, if you can say, hey, but we've all been wrong, come with me, we'll do this together.
Yeah.
And I think that we've gotten Ibram X. Kendi's book, Anti-Racist Baby, and there's this really good one in there, which is it's for children, obviously. But just as Daniel Tiger has great takeaways for grown-ups, so does every kid's book, I think, if you read it. And I think that one of the great things that he says in that one is it's not the people that are wrong, it's the systems that are wrong, and it's the systems that screw the people up. People can often change and grow, in this life or the next one. And so yeah, I think that that's a big thing, and is just allowing people to know that you're not alone. Everybody screws up. Do you want to make it right?
Yeah, and yeah, absolutely right. And I think, like, for me, the one thing that the catalyst in this was me being able to realize that I needed to have the humility to accept the fact that I've done wrong as well.
Yeah.
And be prepared for those circumstances or that conversation. But part of the reason that I wrote the letter was because sometimes it's really hard to get everything you want to say out without any crosstalk, without your being in the middle of your thought. It's something very important, and then the person you're talking to has something else to say, and it derails what you want to say. Right. So for me, it was really important for me to get everything out there that I wanted to say. So it was done in a letter.
That's awesome. And sometimes it's done in a song.
Sometimes
letter, it's a blog, a journal entry. Yeah, you've got to get those things out. And I think that what you say about how much it's helped you, I mean, that's really the catharsis of writing, whether it's writing the letter, writing the song. So I think that's really powerful stuff.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So it really helped me move on and get ready for the next chapter.
Oh man, and what a next chapter you've got.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, dude. We've definitely walked through some life changes with one another. And one of the things that I believe in so strongly is that family isn't just who you share blood with, it's who you share life with.
Yeah.
And man, like my brother,
Yeah. Oh my
like oh my
gosh.
God.
Yeah, you're my sister from another mister.
Oh yeah.
And what did you say? Well, you say I'm your brother from another mother, right? Yeah,
Right,
that's how that
right.
goes. Yeah.
Yeah, how is that like as you're kind of getting into this next phase of life because your family's all in your and your wife's family's all in Michigan now.
Hmm.
Like how is that like knowing that you're starting this
It's
whole life here?
it's crazy because it's just like, like quarantining and masking and being so far away. And, we're just talking about like how does a baby shower work and, and, like all that stuff. Like my sister just had a baby, and we attended the shower via Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And that was interesting, right? Because like there was like the people there, and then there was the Zoomers,
Mm-hmm.
and like
Zoomers.
all the Zoomers were, I like we ended up having our own conversation, and
Mm-hmm.
just kind of, and then we're like, yeah, screw the rest of the party, let's talk, because they're not paying attention to us, it was really, it's like I can only imagine on their end, it was kind of like where you have that party where you invite like your really close friends, but then
Mm-hmm.
like your work friend that you kind of know a little bit gets invited, and then like you feel like obligated to like hang out with them or talk to them a little bit, but like you don't know how to commingle like your
Yeah.
work friend with your other friends, because your work friend you may have a different interest with, and then your
Right.
friends friends like you have like a different interest that guy doesn't like or whatever. So it's just like how do you make it all work? And it felt like that. It felt like that scenario. Yeah.
And it's like all on Zoom. So it's like, do we just say there's a connection in here? I don't know what to do.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, just me being myself, I just I started making wisecracks and jokes and stuff. I think one of my favorite jokes when I get on a Zoom meeting is I always say that did you guys know that the Brady Bunch had the first Zoom meeting? And
I feel like you did that when we did your birthday call.
probably, yeah. It's like how you have those jokes that you recycle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
that's definitely
especially as
one.
a hey, look, man, you're gonna be so well practiced for your dad jokes. Your kid is gonna be so good at rolling their eyes. Like, oh my
Uh,
gosh. I mean,
yeah.
if anybody if old Aunt Tanya can show Sweet Pea how to roll those eyes.
Oh yeah. I mean, my kid's gonna walk out of the kitchen like the young lady in the Geico commercial with Tag Team, where Tag Team's singing about the ice cream, and I'll be dancing and stuff, and my kid's gonna be like, "I'm out," you know.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
that's that's what it's gonna be like all the time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like I am so excited that like for the moment my kids still kind of think I'm cool, but I feel like that's already waiting. Like Tristan's not even 4 and he's already kind of like, yeah, all right, yeah, I get it. You play drums.
Oh
Bye.
yeah, I'm trying to psychologically prepare myself to know that one day my kid's gonna think that I'm not cool anymore.
Oh yeah.
Um, and I'm just going to tell him from the get that I'm not cool, but you can find me that way, and then see what happens.
Right. Oh yeah.
We're
Like
all our own cool.
yeah, we're all our own flavor of cool.
Yeah.
What so tell me a little bit about the vibes you were going for with this record too. Like I just I've just been talking to you way too much about your record because and it's all been one sided. It's all been me going like, oh my God, John, this is
Okay, so the vibe.
yeah. Like what was kind of some of your vibing jams that you were going with? Like, were you listening to like inspiration tracks? I'm just
Yeah.
like
Okay.
picking your brain now as a producer.
No, no, totally fine. I love it. So all right. So with this record, I actually scrapped the first half of it. I started like a long time ago.
Hmm.
And the first several tracks sounded a little bit more like the last track on the record Detroit Johnny, but nowhere as good.
Hmm.
And it was like it had this like boom bap kind of like old school like feel to it. And I I was feeling it, but I think I was just using that. I must have been using those tracks to kind of find my way. And when I got to this record, I started, or I got to the songs that are on this record, I started messing around with listening to stuff that had a little bit more trap vibe to it. So like they hear a lot of the hi-hats, a lot of like triplets and 16th note things and stuff with those, and so I don't know, for whatever reason I found that fascinating, and it was just really fun to build off of. But then I tried to I was like combining like that drum pattern style with like really soulful samples, and things like that. So it just kind of built off the third track on the album was just an experimental idea, and then I got to the lean and smooth track. When I built that just, like I said earlier, was the whirlwind that started the flow of creativity. Right. And just the gates opened wide from there. And so to be honest, like that record, I guess I really started that record maybe like, I don't know, somewhere around 5 months ago. And I had originally started it forever ago. But the Detroit Johnny track, that was done a long time ago. And I actually wanted that song to be song number 1. And then I decided, once I made that intro, that I was going to use Detroit Johnny as the outro.
That fucking intro, dude, like,
oh yeah,
I love that so much. Like, it's just so good, and just listen. Yeah, anyway. Y'all gotta check that out when it comes out. I will be posting it. You don't even know. I was listening to it tonight. I had my friend Maddie over taking some photos last night, masked up. And oh my God, we just listened to that thing like on repeat. What's as someone who listens to so much music as a DJ, what's been some of your like latest jams? Like, what are you super into right now? And you know what? Also, not just music, any like movies. What's been your jams lately?
So really, my jams have only been music. Like, you know, people talk about like Netflix and how much of it they've watched like through quarantine and stuff. I feel like my TV is barely on, and if it's on, it's because I'm playing my Spotify through it. You know what I mean? Like, like that's like I don't like, oh, Queen's Gambit. Like I don't even, you know, that's the chess one, right? I guess I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I was obsessed with Schitt's Creek. That's all I know.
That's just a funny name, right? So
great.
But yeah, so like, what am I mean, I would say that I listen to a lot of, or I've just played like Donuts by Jay Dilla like over and over and over again. Obviously, Dilla was a huge inspiration for my record. And then, and actually, this was really tough to deal with. MF Doom. When I was going through the tough time that I had when I was dealing with all the stuff that kind of led into my my pre-quarantine kind of depression, during my commute I listened to a lot of MF Doom, and I just fell in love with him as an artist and stuff. And probably somewhere around halfway through the record, no, not even, the record was close to done, and I found out on New Year's Eve that he had passed away. And that was crazy for me. Like, I was devastated. Right. Like, because he was such an inspiration. Not that my record sounds like anything like he did, because he was just, you know, just an incredible lyricist, and I just made an instrumental record. But that was tough. But at the same time, like, I was able to take that and regroup and kind of like just, you know, have that creativity flow again. But it was like a roller coaster there. So like stuff like that. I definitely like every once in a while to throw in some lo-fi just to chill out. But I feel like this record has I put it on my website as it's a good record for all occasions. Because you can kind of vibe to it, but you can also dance to it. But you can like chill out to it. You can have it on the background for dinner. Like I feel like it's multi-purpose.
I have to agree.
Swiss Army knife.
I'll get on the treadmill to it. I'll just get high and hang out in the basement by myself and listen to it. I've been cleaning listening to it. It's good driving music. I
It's
like it.
it's
It's vibe music, man.
it's totally the vibe.
Yeah, and I think that like that's one of the things that you said though is about like listening to certain artists during certain times of your life. And God, isn't that like the best part of music? Like
Hmm.
the music that helps you get through depressive times, which kind of sometimes you have to like shelve that and you don't really listen to it too much anymore. But it's also interesting the ones that you can kind of find and like that bring you back out of it. It's like, oh, I'm feeling better. Maybe I can listen to this with a new heart right now.
Hmm.
That's kind of the
Yeah.
magic of music. I love it, man. I feel like we're just such fortunate humans to get to make music and do it. And so, good job on what you're doing, dude.
Thanks. Yeah, it was like a long time coming because like I remember like when I was a kid, I actually wanted to be on the radio. I wanted to be a radio DJ because I definitely have the face for it. So I was like, all right, like when I was a kid, I had like this, it was a realistic, so it means it was Radio Shack, and it was a
Right.
dual tape deck. It had the turntable on top, but also the radio, so you could like record
Mm.
your record onto tape, or you could record the radio. And I was like, cool. So I would record radio songs, and then I had the ability to plug a microphone in. I was like, oh, okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is great. So then I would record the songs from the radio, and then put that in the other tape deck, and then I'd have the blank tape deck, and I'd record myself talking, and then I'd hit play and record, and so I'd make my own like, you know, DJ hour,
That's
and I'd listen
amazing.
back to it, and I thought it was pretty rad, and I ended up finding a 4-track recorder at a garage sale or something like that. And I had no idea what it was. I just wanted a mixer. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh,
Mm-hmm.
cool, this one has a tape player in it. At the time, I had no idea
Right.
that I could layer up 4 different sounds. So I thought it was broken. So I never used it for what it was intended
Oh
for.
my God.
I just used it because I could, plug a microphone and other sound sources into it. And then later in life, I find out, oh, I could have done so much more with that thing. Oh, well, you know.
That's so
And
funny.
yeah, so it was like I always wanted to do something. And then, of course, like, DJing came about. So it was really cool to have this come together and stuff. And yeah, I'm so happy that I did it, and I'm really really excited about it.
I'm so happy that you did it too, dude. So when do you have an official release date?
I submitted it to the publishers, and it's got an open release date. So whenever they get to look at it and verify it's cool or whatever, it'll be put on streaming platforms.
This
So
is the hot jam button.
yeah, this is the hot jam button or whatever. So like basically on my website, fitdjc.com, if people want to be notified when the record is out, go to the homepage and leave your email address right there, and I'll shoot you an email when I know it's available.
Dig it. And you all best believe I'm going to be blasting the Spotify links. You don't even know.
Oh man,
I'm
thank
lucky
you.
that I got to be an early adopter of it.
Oh
But
yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, it's super cool.
it's been really great. John, I just want to thank you so much for hanging out tonight. And I'm so proud of the record that you're making. I'm so proud of your journey that we've gotten to go
Uh,
on. And it was really fun learning some cool little stuff about you that after all of these years, I still didn't know. So thank you
yeah,
so much, man. I
of
appreciate you.
course. Well, thanks for asking me to be a part of this. I'm super honored to be here, and like the lean and smooth track, was so honored when you asked about using that. Like I was like, what? Like people like this like that much? Like they want to use it for a podcast? Like no way. And then like the other feedback I've gotten has been really great, and just kind of really help affirm that it was like good enough to put out.
Oh, it definitely is. And like, as soon as things calm down with Sweet Pea, after they get here, I'm definitely going to be bothering the hell out of you to make me some more beats because I got
Oh,
all kinds of collabs in mind. I'm working on them
well,
behind the scenes.
I one of the things, and I don't know how it'll turn out, but Lynn's at Last Ultrasound,
Yeah.
I asked her to record the heartbeat, and I'm going to do something with that musically.
Oh, dope. Man, I wonder, like, that's hot. That's hot. That's got
Yeah.
me thinking now, too. I'm like, oh, shit, I got all those little, like, radar, like, what do they call it? Sonograms.
Mm-hmm.
I got
Mm-hmm.
all of those. I bet that could sound dope, all Wi-Fi, all the static and the boom boom. Oh,
Yeah, you
man.
just do something. I'll just, chop it and flip it and see what happens.
Dude, I can't wait.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And I got to give a shout out to Serato, Serato Studio, because that's the DAW I used to make the majority of the record. So I'm not looking for a sponsorship or anything like that, but I want to say thank you because it really like helped me open. Because if you don't know Serato, it's a DJ software that I've been using for years, but they
Mhm.
recently came out with a version of it where you can make music with it. So the layout and everything was very familiar, and it was really easy for me to transition to this. So this isn't a paid thing or anything. I'm just saying thank you, Serato Studio. It was really helpful in the process of this record.
Amen, brother. You've got to have good tools to work with. Like, especially,
Hmm.
there's nothing worse than like having to start over from scratch. Like the first time I busted out something that wasn't Pro Tools, I just felt like such a weirdo, and yeah, it didn't work. But don't worry, we'll roll that as some bonus content. We'll roll. I've got 20 minutes of me and Silas from episode 2 where we
Uh-huh.
just talked about music gear that we liked because he just randomly asked me, "Oh, what microphones have you been like? What gear have you been using?" And I'm just gonna cut that up and see if I can't get us some some ads happening. It's like, nah, look, these are for real, just testimonials. We got
Oh
this.
yeah, that's
So
my plan.
this is
When it
today's advertisement for Serato DJ and Pro Tools 2020.
Yeah, I mean, like that's what I want to do. Like when it's out, I want to like tag Serato in a post or something and say thanks for making this record possible and see what they say. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, then they're gonna hear that record and they're gonna be like, "Thank you, John. Thank you, Fit DJC."
Aw, thanks.
All right, brother. Well,
Awesomeness.
you have a great night. Thank you so much for hanging out and talking with me,
Yeah,
man.
for sure. Thank you so much for the invite. It's so good to catch up with you, and much love. You're a rock star. Thank you so
Oh my
much.
God. I love you, brother. Talk
Love you
soon.
too. All right, take care. Stay awesome.
Have a great night, everybody. See you next week, Thursday at 9 with
Thursday at 9.
CJ Dates.
There you
Bye.
go. Later.